because I found that a lot of high achievers and professionals chase success without defining what success means to them. There's a difference between thinking something or having an intellectual understanding of something versus actually feeling it in your heart. So it's vision, ground, grow. That's how you get in flow. When you are truly in touch with yourself, with who you are and what you want out of life, everything rises. Probably the biggest challenge is staying out of our own way, staying out of the mode of, controlling things we can't control. In order to take that next aligned step, you need to have clarity of what your vision is.
Welcome to the Leadership and Love podcast. We will cover leadership, mindset, personal development, and sales and marketing. You will experience thought-provoking conversations with both nationally and internationally recognized leaders. Our goal is to inspire you and deliver actionable items that you can implement that are going to help you accelerate your growth. Get ready to discover the magic and the power when you lead with love. Welcome back, everybody, to another exciting episode of Leadership and Love. I feel so blessed, grateful, and excited that Carolyn Litton is here. I met Carolyn Litton a while back at an organization called Engaging Speakers, where she ended up at the front of the room leading the chapter. And then I also watched her break out and gather some other speakers and put together her own events where she filled rooms. And so let me get to her bio right away. But again, just an amazing woman, and we're blessed to have her on the show today. So Carolyn Litton is a transformational guide, speaker, and retreat host, and the founder of the Vision Project, a movement helping high achievers shift from force to focus. A former award-winning loan officer turned coach, Carolyn blends neuroscience, one of my favorite topics, spiritual law, another one of my favorite topics, and practical habits. Bang, bing, 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 there's a trifecta, and practical habit work to help people align their energy, elevate their mindset, and create success that feels as good inside as it looks outside. That's a great sentence, Carolyn. Through her vision, ground, grow method, she guides clients to reconnect with their authentic vision, ground their energy, and grow through inspired actions. Carolyn also founded Hearts for Hope, a 501c3 nonprofit supporting those experiencing homelessness, created through the same principles as she now teaches. Her talks, retreats, and courses inspire others to work with life, not against it. Another great sentence. Carolyn, welcome to the show, and thanks for being here today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Louie. It's a pleasure. I appreciate you.
So one of the things that Carolyn's really big about and big on and gets people to is a thing called flow, right? Where you're working in the flow.
Yes.
One of the things I'd like to share, you start with is the big part at the beginning. How do you help your clients when they come to you? How do you help them find their purpose and get in alignment with that purpose?
Oh, that's a great question. Thank you so much. Well, so I really go through a reflection exercise and help people connect to the vision of what they want in multiple aspects of their life. Because I found that a lot of high achievers and professionals chase success without defining what success means to them.
That's a golden nugget. Please repeat that.
Oh, thank you. I just mentioned that most leaders and professionals chase success without defining what success even means to them.
Yeah, it's a very, very valid point. So I'd like you to talk about why that's so critical, because I agree with you. I'm a big advocate of everything is connected to everything, right? And I think people live with the illusion that if they succeed in business, then everything else in their life is just going to be okay. And that's not really how it works. Can you talk about, one, how you get them to understand that it's all part of the same thing and why
Yes.
that's so important?
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's really about work-life harmony. I mean, our life is one. So it's if we're succeeding at business and our health is suffering, our relationships are suffering, our spirituality is suffering, that's not success. So I lead my clients through an exercise to help them to look into different aspects of their life, such as their relationships, their health, their spirituality, the areas other than just business and finance. So we look at those different areas, and I've also found that there's a huge difference between intellectually thinking something and connecting with your heart and really feeling into it. So one of
Oh,
my
stop, stop. I'm
oh
sorry to interrupt, but another golden nugget. Can you repeat that too, please?
Oh, sure. Yeah, there's a difference between thinking something or having an intellectual understanding of something versus actually feeling it in your heart. There's a big difference. So when I go through this exercise, it's not like, well, here, fill out this form. You were in your intellect at that point. So one of my gifts that I'm grateful for is I have a great ability to lead meditations and help people connect to their heart space through my visualizations and meditations and help that basically come forth, like help them connect to what that is.
Yeah, I have a dear friend of mine, Mike Jones. He said the most difficult journey we make is the 14 inches from our head to our heart.
Yes, yes, exactly.
And I'd like you to talk a little bit about something else too that I think is really critical because I think you're absolutely right. We can know it in our head, but until we feel it in our heart, we don't know it. And what do you do to help your clients experience it? So that they, because once we've experienced it, it becomes real to us.
Yes, absolutely. Well, that's my vision project method. So it's vision, ground, grow. That's how you get in flow. So the grounding is like the meditation portion. So we get to relax our bodies, relax our minds, and then gently ask questions. And that really takes you out of your thinking habit in your head and allows you to drop into your heart space and allows people to connect with what they really desire, what their vision is. So it's a combat. So then once you know your vision, like, ooh, this came up. This really lights me up. I love this. So then once you have that vision, how do you stay connected to that vision every day? Because that's a part of you. So then I developed a method. Again, it's like if you can make it easy and fun, awesome. And let your subconscious do the heavy lifting, even better. So I developed a mobile app and a program to really help people stay connected with their vision and to ground themselves daily so they can, again, get into that heart space and emotionally connect with their vision.
So I want to just make a side note real quick. I have had the wonderful experience of using her app. I want to tell you, very, very, very powerful, and I highly recommend it. I didn't know that was going to come up, but yeah, it's really a beautiful app, and it's really very, very effective for exactly what you're talking about. And I also love that on your app you've linked some great podcasts and YouTube videos, and they're just all really in alignment with what you're talking about. I'd like you to talk about next. Can you share with us how it's had a big impact on your clients when they find this balance and understand that they actually are more effective and productive and efficient and profitable at work when they're happy at home because they're spending time with the kids or their loved one or their spouse or whoever that may be?
Yes, absolutely. So it's funny. So my clients have come to me for a variety of different reasons. A lot of them actually, it was to improve and deepen relationships with very close, like children or very close family members. And in turn, the business increase has been tremendous. I had one client 3x her income, another 6x her income. But if you think about it, when you are truly in touch with yourself, with who you are and what you want out of life, um, everything rises. So then your energy changes, how you show up changes. It's a ripple effect. So that translates over to your family, to your friends. Everything changes when you can get connected with yourself, get into alignment, and get into that state of flow. Everything elevates.
Yeah, that's amazing. I actually was in a conversation yesterday with Ginger Lawler, who's another podcast guest, and she said the power of that special relationship is huge when that's in alignment because it really exponentially grows everything. When I'd like you to talk about your favorite topic and one of mine, and that's flow. So I'd like you to explain to the audience because there's some people that aren't familiar with the term. Can you please explain to them what flow is?
Sure. So flow, it's not woo-woo, though some people may think it's woo-woo. It's an actual state of being backed by science where we're our most capable, creative, and connected selves. So it's an optimal state of performance. So when you're in that state of flow, and that actually, when we're in alignment, we're naturally in that state of flow.
Yeah, and so I'd like to recommend for the listeners, listen to some interviews with professional sports personalities or athletes because I've heard some of them say, like I heard a baseball player say one time, and some people call it the zone, some people
Yep.
call it flow, where they got different names for it. But this baseball player said, I was in the flow, and he said the baseball looked like a beach ball. He said it was almost impossible to not hit it,
Yes.
right?
Yes, athletes typically, you're absolutely right, Louis. Like athletes frequently experience that. They call it being in the zone, and it almost feels like life is just working through them, and it feels effortless. It's intense focus. You receive ideas of inspiration, and musicians and artists typically can get into that state.
Yeah, so I'd like to share with our audience because I shared this with Carolyn, and like I said, we've known each other a couple of years now. But I experienced it as a musician. You know, I've had nights on stage where people would come up to me and say, "Man, you were amazing." I tell them it wasn't me. That didn't come from me. That came through me.
True.
Right. And then when I started speaking, it happens every time. And I was familiar with the feeling and the inspiration, right? Because sometimes when you're in that place, divine, I call it a BFO, blinding flash of the obvious, but that divine inspiration, right, will come to
Yeah.
you. And then if you just put it into the universe, the world, that's when the magic happens. So when you talk about grounding in your process, can you explain to our listeners when you work with your clients, what are you talking about specifically? Again, because some of these terms may not be familiar to them. What is grounding? Can you define it? And then how do you get your clients to apply that?
Oh, sure. That's a great question. And I mean, there's many different definitions of grounding. The way I'm referring to it is just being calm, centered, and balanced. So that's what it's grounding our energy.
Okay, so I'm going to interrupt you. I want you to drop those. You're dropping golden nuggets all over the place. Drop those three same words because for grounding, please.
Sure. Getting calm, centered, and balanced. Present, I would say. Yeah, calm, centered, and present, like into that present moment.
Now. So how do you teach your clients to get to that place?
Sure. So that's a part of the Vision Ground Grow method. So I teach it through daily meditation, where I think that's so important to just sit in stillness, even just for 5 minutes, and make it consistent. So I have meditations on my mobile app, and offer classes with meditation as well to help people who either think they can't meditate or have a hard time with the consistency of it. So it's through that consistency, it raises your awareness, the more that you can be grounded. And it also calms your nervous system, which is huge. So it helps us be more responsive and less reactive when we get out, in life.
Yeah, yeah. I couldn't agree more. It's one of the things I tell people. If you want to change the entire game, start meditating. Right? It impacts everything in your life. I think that's fascinating. I'd also like you to talk about the benefits of that because when you're in that space, you really come from your your calm analytical mind versus your emotional mind. Can you talk
Right.
about that?
First of all, like being more consistent with the meditation daily helps you get into that space. So, the benefit is you can actually have a conversation with someone, and instead of just wanting to be in that state of control and tell someone what you want to do or let that frustrate you and let your emotions take control, you can actually have a conversation where you're approaching, different situations with maybe curiosity versus trying to force or control.
So, for you listeners, she just hit the gold mine. So, I want you to understand what she talked about is meditation gives you the ability to not go to your emotional mind where you want to be the the winner, you want to be right, you want to have control, all those things that make us bad leaders in a big hurry. So that's really powerful stuff, Carolyn. Thank you for sharing that.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah, and so now I'd like you to talk about the next step of your three-step process, and that's grow. Tell us what grow means for you in your definition, and then how do you help your clients get to that?
Absolutely. So grow is a pivotal piece because when you're in flow, flow loves to be challenged. So it's about, but a healthy level of challenge. So when I'm constantly learning new ideas and reading and listening to podcasts and filling my mind with supportive things, it helps me expand. It helps me grow. It helps me implement new ideas into my life, into my business. So that's part of grow is the learning, and I do that through podcasts and reading daily. Again, it's daily repetition. Think about the compound effect. We know how much compound interest like has an effect. Imagine compounded learning. So that, and also growing within a community. Your environment is so, so important. So make sure you're surrounding yourself or you have growth mindset individuals that you like to really or be intentional in being around.
Yeah. So for you listening, I want you to catch these three things that are priceless that Carolyn just said. One of them is, and I've talked about this before, leaders are readers. I'm a big fan of actually reading the book, but she's constantly learning every day. It could be a podcast, she's reading a book, but she's learning to grow herself. The next thing she talked about, there's also a great book out there called The Compound Effect by a guy named Darren Hardy. And so I would recommend that you read that book because she just suggested it. But one of the things she's talking about and what he talks about in that the compound effect is exactly what Carolyn just said. Even 5 minutes of meditation every day is huge because it's better than no meditation. And it's the compound effect of what piles up right after. And then the other thing she talked about is that these things give you whole new concepts and ideas of what you're already working on, and you can see the world in a completely different way that you might not have ever seen before. Carolyn, it's really fascinating. What's one of your favorite things that you or one of your favorite tools that you've discovered that really has the biggest impact on your clients?
I would say the mindset shifting is one of the has the biggest impact because so what you're thinking, your thoughts control your emotions, and that usually control determines your behaviors and actions. So it's not just about think a positive thought. Okay, great. Because if you're thinking a positive thought and you truly don't believe it and you're not energetically connected to it, you're not really shifting. So I help people shift their thought into a way that actually feels better, where they can see the truth in how they shifted a certain reality, and actually not only improve their mindset, but improve their emotional state and their energy. So
Oh, that's very powerful, very powerful. So again, what she said is and some people think this, right? They say all these positive affirmations and then they wonder why nothing changes. If you're grumpy or you're in a bad mood and you say positive affirmations, it's all that vibrational frequency, right? It's that where you resonating at. If you say affirmations and you're happy and smiling, then it's going to completely impact the whole system. What's one of the biggest challenges that your clients usually come to you with?
sure, I would say one of the biggest challenges is getting in, and I can actually relate to this too. Like, just we get in our own ways all the time. So we find ourselves wanting to, and my clients too, wanting like getting into doubt or getting into fear or getting into want to control the outcome. So that comes up frequently. So it's just through the repetition and the emotional impact of coming back to we don't have control over the external circumstances, but we can control our thoughts, which control our feelings and our action. So just gently bringing them back to that, bringing them back to that. So it becomes easier and easier when you're more practiced at it, which again, that's why I love the vision ground grow method. But that's probably the biggest challenge is staying out of our own way, staying out of the mode of, controlling things we can't control.
Yeah, that's fascinating. And I think that it's really profound, right? Because once we start to understand that we have the power to shift that, everything we see changes. And there's a quote out there that says things change when you change. I'd like you to talk about, because you said this earlier, and I find it fascinating because when I do business consulting with my clients, one of the first things I start on is them, right? They think, well, I got to go fix sales, I got to go fix, whatever. So I really like you to talk about how important it is that your clients are working on themselves, and then oddly enough, how sales or the relationships got better.
Yes, absolutely. I'm happy to do that. So most people think like, oh, as soon as I have this tool, this CRM or this strategy to implement in my business, we're golden. No, it absolutely starts with yourself first. So what place is your mind in and your emotions, energetically how you feel, because that's where everything starts. Energy definitely transfers. So if you are in sales, you can have every best sales script in the world, you can have every best CRM, but if you are not energetically in a good place, again, your clients can feel that. So that's any type of strategy or sales tactic or business tactic that can come later, but it first starts with managing your mindset and your emotions and your own energy.
Yeah.
Everything else, then those tactics can be implemented so much easier and more effectively.
So I'd like you to link that because what she said is very powerful, right? You could, and I love this analogy, right? You can have a rifle, and if you're aiming it in the wrong direction, it's not going to do you any good, right?
Exact Yeah,
But what I'd like you to connect the dots now on how what you just talked about in that your thoughts, your mindset, and then getting you how that and then you can have the new CRM or whatever it be. But all that happens in a thing called flow.
right. Right. So if I had to then take it back, it's really the habits because we are in a habit of thinking, a habit of being ourselves, our personality. It's all a habit. So when we change our habits, we can change our way of being, our way of thinking. Is that kind of where it was that bridging the gap? So when we start with shifting our habits, which my favorite method is the vision ground grow habit, we change ourselves, and now we are better equipped to implement any other sort of strategy.
Right. And what she's talking about is that when you work on you, which is the only thing you really can fix in this world at the end of the day, right? Is and then when you have the new CRM or a new sales rep or whatever it may be, then you drop into flow. Like she mentioned earlier, if you have a new sales rep as an example, you can have those conversations without getting heated, without going to your emotional brain because you've been practicing your meditation and doing those kinds of things, and then that's when the magic happens because they drop into flow.
Yes. And also when you're in that state of flow, I think I had mentioned this earlier, inspiration happens. So you access your creative self. So you'll get ideas to solutions and prospects and things that you would not have access to if you were not in that flow state. So it's really leveraging to that creativity and the inspiration.
That's another golden nugget. And one of the things I'd like to share with everybody is this is not something that's unique to Carolyn or to her clients or to myself. It works for everybody. But to her point, you have to practice it. And you've heard the saying, Carolyn, and so have I, everything we need is within us, right? And so our ability to drop into flow and actually hear it and be clear and because it's important to hear it, right? But it's even just as important to go take action.
Yes. Yes. And if I can share two things, one, there's a statistic that says when people who frequently operate from the state of flow are up to 500% more productive than those who aren't. Oh my God, just with that sense of that increased productivity, now you do have time for your health, for your family, for the relationships, and everything just then it starts becoming in harmony and your energy changes everything and you just show up differently. It's super powerful. But that yeah. And yeah, and actually now I'm forgetting the second one, but the first is the increased productivity. And the second thing will come to me.
Okay. Yeah, and it's interesting because it's often amazing to me how people think that the only way to achieve whatever it is to work their butt off. And that's not the case at all. And here's I'd like to challenge our listeners to this. I believe everybody meditates already. You're just not aware that you're meditating, right?
What are you meditating on? Right. What thoughts?
Well, you're meditating on thoughts, but sometimes we've all had what I call the BFO, right? The blinding flash of the obvious. It's happened in the shower. It's happened when you're driving in the car, listening to your favorite music. It might happen when you're in a walk in nature. You're a big runner. We're both runners. It can happen anywhere, and we often dismiss it. I'd like you to talk about, because this has been my experience, and I'd love to hear what you have to say. I've come to understand that when I get that divine inspiration, the sooner I act on it, the sooner I get more of it. What's been your
Yes. Thank you. That was my second part. I was like, I forgot the second part.
Oh, there
That's
you
fine.
go.
Yes, yeah. So I call that inspired action. And the more you are in the flow, when you like inspired action, it pulls you. You want to take action on it because it's exciting. So I experience that frequently where it actually feels effortless. So, I mean, there's two different types. I've been in both situations. The inspired action is the best because there's no effort at all. I just that when you mentioned I started that stage for my own speaking events, that leadership summit. I mean, the words just blurted out of my mouth. I'm like, oh, let's do this. Oh, of course we'll do this. And it was just, it was innate. So that's inspired action. There's really no effort needed. Then there's another type of when you have some sort of inspiration. Um, if it feels a little heavy, then it's just that then you like I'll go back and I'll think, okay, like what's the lightest action? What's the most aligned action that I can take right now that will get me towards my goals? So I don't know if
Yeah, yeah, that's
I
very
covered a
powerful
lot
because
there, but
you did, but I'm going to ask the question so you can rephrase it a different way, and because it was that was beautiful. One of the things that you touched on is inspired action. Is it just kind of happens, right? It's just
it feels effortless. Yes.
yeah, and people will show up, and you think, "Holy cow!" But I'd like you to talk about, and like you to rephrase what you just said, and what. So how do you coach your clients when they don't have inspired action? What should they do?
Right. That's where the aligned action comes in. So if it's not coming from that super burst of inspiration, it's knowing what your main vision, what your main goal is, and knowing what you need to do to get there. And it's like, what little step, what little next micro step can I take that feels the lightest that will pull me in that direction?
Okay, now for the listeners, this is just so precious. I want you to connect the dots again and go back to how do they define or decide what's aligned action?
Okay. So I explain it to my clients. Aligned feels light. It feels um it feels peaceful. It just it's a light a light feeling. A not aligned action feels like I should do this. But like and it feels heavy. So it's knowing everything that gets to be done and what can you do next that feels the lightest.
And then I'd like you to take it a step further because this is where your first step of your process becomes so critically important, right? And so that aligned action is also going to be directly aligned to where you had them start with the vision,
Vision. What do you want?
right?
Hmm.
So can you talk about that?
Yes, absolutely. So, in order to take that next aligned step, you need to have clarity of what your vision is. So that's why everything. So when I work with my clients, my company is called the Vision Project. So it all starts with what's your vision? What do you want? So I'll give you an example. Let's say I'm creating some content for either a class or a speech. So I know my deadline is X date. So I'm working on it, and if I get to a place where it's just heavy and I can't think of anything, the old mindset was, well, it's got to get done. So just stay at your desk until it's done. Well, the new paradigm, my new mindset is, you know what? Maybe I get to go for a walk right now. Maybe that feels like the next lightest step, that next aligned action. So I get outside, I go for a walk, and whether it's an hour later or a day later or days later, I always get what I need from flow within minutes or hours. What would have taken me a whole day, I can download and receive that information, those ideas.
Oh, that's preciously priceless. So everybody, what she just said, and I've had this experience too many times to count. When I'm frustrated or something's not working, just walking away, right, Carolyn? That's what you
Yep.
just said.
And being okay with that, and not feeling guilty that you're being lazy. You're not being lazy. You're in a place of resistance, and you cannot, when you keep operating from that place, it does not breed creativity or solutions. It's knowing when to step away and work smarter, not harder.
Yeah, yeah, that's just brilliant. So again, for our listeners, I want you to catch a couple things that's gone on in this last portion of the conversation. And the first piece is and one of my favorite ways of putting it is when you go to a travel agent and tell them you want to go on vacation, the first thing they're going to ask is where you going, right? That's the purpose of your vision. We know where we're going. And then the next thing that she said, and I would highly recommend, and I mean truly highly recommend, and I love her and I are both big advocates of habits, right? These daily continual habits. I would highly recommend that you put something in your environment, a post-it note, a sign, tattoo it on the back of your hand that when and she touched on this word called resistance. When it's hard, you're on the wrong path, right? When it's hard. So, but and what take her advice and today, and I always like to challenge our audience, Carolyn, to what's one action item that they can take away and implement today to make them a better leader. And today, I would really like to highly, highly recommend that meditation, if you're not meditating now, and her last bit of brilliance, which was if you're struggling, if it seems difficult, and there's resistance, let it go. Walk away from it and come
Yes.
back because go ahead, Carolyn.
And give yourself that grace. Do it without guilt. As you know, Louis, we're working with leaders and high achievers. We don't typically, we're not bred to have that mindset. It's like you just keep going, you keep grinding, you keep doing. And then if you do walk away, then you get the sense, or sometimes people can get a sense of guilt or feel like you're being lazy. And if there's anything I can express is, yeah, give yourself grace. Don't, it's really in that place of getting yourself out of the resistance. Just trust that you will get it all done. To feel better first, and one of my taglines is feel better, achieve more. Get to that better feeling place, stop being in a place of resistance, and then you'll get into the flow and you will achieve more. I promise, it works all the time.
Yeah, that's amazing. And one of the things I think that's so powerful is it's just that easy, right? To walk away. And one of the things I like that she just touched on that's reminded me of something. And Carolyn, you just have so much wisdom and knowledge, and I'm really seriously, I'm grateful that you showed up because you've touched on some things that has never come up before, and I'm close to episode 50 already. But yeah, and so you're a rock star. But one of the things that I've learned that I like to share that Carolyn just touched on is the same thing. Give yourself grace and let yourself off and take a day off, a full day off every week. you will be amazed at how much better you are on Monday if you take all day Sunday off. And I would also like to recommend that if you're taking a day off, disconnect. Don't go on social media. Turn your cell phone off. You can live without it. You'll be amazed at what it does to your brain.
So good. Get out in nature, connect with nature, connect. Yeah, so many. I love it.
Yeah,
Disconnect
yeah.
with
So,
technology.
Carolyn, this has been amazing. Is there anything I didn't ask you that you'd like to share with the audience?
Goodness gra we covered so much. I will not off the top of my head.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, and again, not only we covered so much, but it was so brilliant. All of it was just, right on target. And one of the things I like to mention this for just a minute, because everything I watched you do, and I mean everything, and I think this is so powerful for leaders. Everything I've watched you do it with love. You do it with such passion and love for what, and I also have watched you learn. Maybe I'd like you to talk about this. How you would recommend for our listeners to say no to things that don't make their heart go pitter patter, because
Oh,
everything, right, because I've watched you in your personal life, I've watched you in your nonprofit, I've watched you professionally, I've watched you, in the engaging speakers, I've watched you in all these different parts of your life, and everything you do, you show up as the same person. You're energetic, you're kind, you're loving, you're enthusiastic, you come from a heart of service. I'd like you to talk about that to our, because I think often people say yes to everything.
yeah, I agree. That's a great question. Well, I look at it as um, life's just too short to do things that don't truly light you up and let you be the
Come on,
full
stop, stop, stop. Say
version.
that again, please.
Life is too short to not do what truly lights you up and let you be a fully expressed version of yourself. It really is. And don't again, that's the resistant energy. I should do this. I should do this for that person. I promise you, if you do what makes your heart pitter patter and you just show up in your full authentic self, you will touch so many more people from your overflow, from being authentically you. So do what makes you happy. Honestly, like, be authentically you. No guilt, no shame.
It's okay. So now I want to circle back to something else that you talked about and connect the dots in a big, big way.
Okay.
I tell people life is not that hard. And a lot of people push back, right? But I tell people, if you're happy, you're on course. If you're unhappy, you're off course. It's exactly what you just said, right? It's exactly what you just
Absolutely.
said. But to make that happen, and I want to stress how wise this woman is. To make that happen, you've got to move out of your head, right? Stop caring about what people think about you. Stop caring about what you wear or what you drive or where you live and all the other craziness that she was talking about around mindset. Because when you get out of your head and in your heart, it's really easy, isn't it, Carolyn?
Absolutely. Actually, what you said that was super profound. You're like, life shouldn't be that hard. And you said some people argue. Well, here's the thing, wherever your mind is set, those are the results you're going to experience. So if you think life is supposed to be hard, life will be hard. If you think life is supposed to be fun and joyful and shouldn't be that hard, guess what? If you put your focus and attention there, that is the life that you will live. That is the reality that you will create for yourself.
Yeah. One of my affirmations is my life is fun, simple, and easy.
I
Guess what my life
love
is?
Boom. I love that so much. Yes. And
Yeah.
the success just ensues. You end up having the impact. The abundance follow. It just happens. That's the after effect. Like that's yeah, of just being authentically you.
Yeah, and it's amazing because that's the overflow, and you it's like you become magnetized, right? And all these things that are vibrating at the same frequency just start showing up.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, it's amazing stuff. All right, so my next question, one of my favorites is, what's the one book that you would recommend to our listeners that you read that had a big impact on you in your life, and why?
Sure. Okay, so that book, it's called The Buddha and the Badass by Vishen Lakiani. And
Okay.
that book like literally changed my life in a huge way. It talks about both business and spirituality. And it was actually after reading that book that inspired me to actually exit the day to day of my mortgage career and start a totally new path in life as a speaker, coach, author, international retreat host. That book was my inspiration. It also brought me to Jordan. Mind Valley is a group that the author created, and he hosts this event called A Fest. So that book also led me to apply to A Fest. I met some of the most fascinating people in the world, and it inspired me to host my own retreats. And now I host global retreats. And this all happened within like a 3-year period. That's how profound that book was, and leveraging the state of flow.
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah,
so I'd like to share with everybody that one of the things I share with business owners is your business is your spiritual practice, right? Our business is really how we're helping, serving, and healing our clients. And so I love that book. So it's Buddha. And again, for your listeners that might be this your first time here, we put all these things in the meeting notes so you can go back and get the title and the author's name and all those good things. Carolyn, if people would like to connect with you or reach out in some fashion to possibly attend a retreat to work with you, what's the best way for them to get a hold of you?
sure. So my website is VP, as in like Vision Project, vpmanifest.com. So it features it, well, actually, on the homepage, you can get my top 10 tips to get into flow. So that is available to you through my website. You can reach out, you can contact me, connect me from there. You can also view my different coaching and transformational programs that I have, and even check out our last retreat that we had in Bali in April of this year. And I'm so excited. Talk about flow and inspiration. I just collaborated with someone yesterday. We're going to a castle in Ireland, like literally a private castle, hosting a retreat there in this coming May. So that is in the work. So more details will come out about that too.
Yeah, that's awesome. And again, I'd like to give her a testimonial. Two dear friends of mine attended her retreat in Bali, and not only did they have the most amazing time, but it was life transforming for both of them. And so God bless you for doing your work in the world because you are making a difference. And again, for our listeners, we're going to put all her information in the meeting notes if you need it. But again, her website is VP Victor Papa Vision Project, vpmanifesting.com. And again, there's a free resource there on 10 tips on how to drop into flow. That alone is worth the price of admission. Carolyn, I love you and thank you so much for taking the time and showing up today. This has
Uh,
just been incredibly powerful.
oh, I love you too, Louie. Thank you for your leadership and all you do and leading with heart. And yeah, I appreciate you so much.
Thanks again for joining us and listening to this episode of Leadership and Love. I would like to challenge you to ask yourself, what's one thing that you heard today that you can implement immediately to improve your leadership and accelerate your growth? If you've gotten value out of this episode or learned something that you can implement today, we'd ask that you please share it with those that you care about. Our goal is to create more leaders who are leading with love.